Hello, everybody. It's me, John the Joker, and I want to thank you for listening to the first of 2 episodes with the Anarchy Arena crew, and of course, Count Jackula. And boy, are you in for a great episode. Today, we're talking about the wonderful world of magic, Satanism, and of course, our special brand of crude humor. Feel obligated to give you another chance to back out. This one does get diabolical in every sense of the word. So if you aren't comfortable with that, then please stop this episode and enjoy one of our other fine podcasts. But I promise you this, if you stick with us, you will listen to this episode and the episode that follows, you might just learn something. That being said, on to the show. Well, I know that usually Chris is the one that starts these fucking things up, but fuck it, I brought the guy here, so I'm going to start it up tonight. Tonight we have a very, very special guest, and this might be a long one, so this may in fact be 2 parts of 2 episodes, but tonight I have summoned from the depths of planet Dracula, the one and only Count Jackula. Jack, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Oh, we're doing pretty good. I got my Angry Orchard hard cider. Apparently it's rose.
That's so metal.
Because I know it's so fucking metal, dude. You know,
rose flavored.
It's called rose. It tastes like fucking hard apple cider to me. I don't know what the difference is.
What do they do? You
It's
use
just
like
pink.
rose petals, like a tea leaf, and like get the flavor in it.
Man, I've seen weirder
only
shit.
Yeah. I know, man. All I know is it was the one that was on sale. So
Nice.
it's the one I'm drinking.
That's fair.
There you go.
That's fair.
I mean, that's the only beer that's better than free beer, right? Is on sale beer.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
It's true.
yeah. It's free beer. Free beer. You gotta take what you get, right? You know, that's
Right.
a roll of the dice. That's craps. You know, but beer on sale, that's the good stuff, because you usually have a choice of things that are pretty good, but the store's just trying to get rid of it.
yeah, they're just like, these hipsters don't want it, so please get the shit out of my store. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And I can't imagine why anyone would feel weird drinking rose-colored Angry Orchard apple cider. Like, people, no, seems strange to me. I mean, this is San Francisco, goddammit.
exactly. I was about to say, like, these motherfuckers are drinking White Claw. There's no excuse anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, that
So-
White Claw is such a rage right now.
From the uninitiated, will someone explain
Oh,
to me what
God,
the
are you
fuck a White
kidding
Claw
me?
is? I see all the memes about it,
Dude,
the basic bitch shit.
it's-
What the fuck is a White Claw?
Here's what White
It's the
Claw
new
is, dude.
PBR.
This is the latest, and I don't get it. It's carbonated water with alcohol. It's flavored carbonated water. Like, it's a seltzer, right? That's what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
And
basically Zima.
with-
Oh.
That's what I was about to say.
Zemo.
It's the Zemo
Oh my
2019.
God, it's like
Yeah.
Zima, dude.
2019 Zima.
All right, I'm no longer interested.
Yeah.
Dude, but everyone is like,
It-
2 White Claws and you're on top of the world. Like, they go nuts over it. Like, they act like it's the greatest, most, like it cracks you out or something. It's like, I don't get it, dude. It's just water with alcohol in it. What y'all raging over it for?
Oh no, it's fucking like Zoomer PBR. Is
Oh my
what it
god.
is. You know,
Ugh.
To take a page out of Jack's book, y'all motherfuckers need Satan if you think 2 White Claws takes you to the top of the world.
Dude,
Oh,
I know,
Jesus.
man. I'm telling you.
God. Like, although I gotta tell you, my favorite alcohol. I don't drink it that much anymore because that relationship was good, but like we look at each other now and we're like, that was good, baby, but it was almost too good. Like, I think we need to like be apart. Boone's Farm.
Boone's
Ooh.
Farm.
Boone's Farm. Holy crap.
Okay, I've never
That
heard of
is
that one.
Boone's Farm is holy shit. You haven't heard of Boone's
No,
Farm?
I can't say
What-
I have.
What the fuck? Where did you find these guys? What the fuck you mean you don't know what Boone's Farm is?
Oh no!
Listen, we're
Holy
not wine people, so
Oh, is
No,
it
Boone's
wine?
Farm is not. Boone's Farm is white trash for wine.
yeah, it's box wine basically.
Okay.
It comes in a box so that you can't get it in a bottle. That's a little more common, and it comes in a bunch of flavors like peach and apple and shit like that.
So yeah,
It's basically
it's funny. I
it's
hate wine,
basically
and
alcoholic Kool-Aid.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's why,
reminds me of
like,
college.
I hate wine. The more expensive
fuck
it
yeah.
is, like the worse it tastes to me, and I just don't get it. Just give me a cheap box wine. I'm down. I could chug the shit out of that. I don't know
Oh
what it
yeah,
is.
absolutely. I've actually gotten to the point where I can tell the difference between like a $5 bottle of wine and like a $100 bottle of wine, but anything over that is just like, nah, you're fooling yourself.
I mean, it's
You
all
know,
just
'cause
uppity
there is a
grapes.
bit there is a bit of a difference. Yeah. Yeah, it's all that's where it really comes down to, which is the quality of the vineyard itself.
yeah,
You know, everything else is just bullshit.
everything else is just window dressing.
I mean,
you know?
pretty much.
Yeah,
Right.
it really is. You know, so if you're like, hey, so you're really buying the wine in order to like kind of signify your like social class.
It's a status symbol.
It's totally a status symbol. It's got nothing to do with nothing else.
Which makes you a douche.
Wow.
Anyways.
Wow.
Got him.
Fuck you, John. Yeah.
Got him.
No. I'm saying anybody that buys wine as a status symbol, fuck you and the cargo pants you wore.
Oh,
Yeah, and
jeez,
I
yeah.
grew up in a background where like buying $1,000 bottles of wine is like normal, and I never got it. To me, it just tastes like vinegar. It's just like
It's
wow, like, Jesus.
Like I said, there's like this huge range
Like-
where it just does not matter.
yeah, and it's from the year. It's the 1935 blah 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 super French sounding name. It's like I don't care. Like it still tastes bad.
That's called that's false scarcity.
Exactly.
That's what that is.
But Billy, you're also like upper class, Florida man. So like,
Oh man.
like no
Upper
legit-
class Florida man, that's like, dude, that's like $1,000 bottle of wine and flip flops. That sounds
Yeah, that's
exactly
was
what
my
that is.
childhood.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's how I was raised. I was raised in flip flops. I was up there, man. When I first went to college, that's how I met John. Was when we went to college up in Tennessee. I was up there in the wintertime in flip flops and a t-shirt, and it's like I woke up and it was 6 degrees outside, single digits I ain't never seen in my life. And me and John met me where we crossed the street from where we live because we lived in the same spot. He looks at me, he was like, how the hell?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Like, and it was just like, why is it so cold? Oh my god! And John just is like,
Are we at the North Pole?
This is what happens when you get north of the Panhandle, Billy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I learned my lesson real quick. That next day, I was like, I'm going to buy clothes. I was so
Oh,
This-
God,
cold,
yeah.
man.
This motherfucker looked like a condom, like a condom in use. He was wrapped in a big fucking blanket and two tiny little feet like poking out. And I was like, "What the fuck you're still high, aren't you?" Like,
Oh my god.
Man.
Holy
Well,
crap.
well, anyways, Jack, there might be a couple people that listen to this podcast that have no clue who you are. Give us the elevator pitch of why we should know who the fuck you are.
Well, I'm Count Jackula. I have a channel on YouTube where I am I run a review show in the style of the old horror hosts from, actually, they're still around really, but they kind of had their peak of popularity in like 70s and 80s. And I also discuss worshiping the devil.
Oh yeah, by the way, first time I showed Billy your channel.
Stop it.
On his stream. No, I had to tell him
Oh my
this.
God.
First time I show him your channel, I was like, "Hey, watch this guy. He's a horror reviewer, and I didn't tell him anything about the Satanist because I wanted to see his reaction." And he was watching. He's like, "Wait, is he a Satanist?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like a real Satanist, not like me Satanist, where it's Jehovah's Witness, knocks on the door and I tell him I'm a Satanist. Like, no, he's got the book and the altar.
Well,
I was like, "Yeah,
start somewhere.
yeah, we all gotta start somewhere, right?" Not everyone can experience Satan's love for you. You eventually have to grow into it.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, I was
Yeah.
like he like real. Like, he's like all about it. John's like, yeah, sure. Like, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, yeah, like you should have
Right.
expected that, Billy. God, like, what are you thinking? You know, and I was just like, I mean, okay, I'm down. That's cool, but it, you know,
To be fair, he has Baphomet and the symbol of Satan, and he's got a green mohawk, and his name is Count Jackula,
Right.
and he's a horror reviewer. There's a lot of bells and whistles ringing that should have been like, oh, hey.
Yeah, I have no idea why I thought I was gonna fit in at Channel Awesome. I gotta tell you, this. I have no idea why I thought that was gonna work. You know?
Oh, I showed these guys the fucking that wall review. Holy fucking shit.
Oh
my
yeah,
God.
the one that Nostalgia Critic did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
too bad. It's really I've never seen so much effort put into something that I just fucking hated every second of.
Right? Like that's how I was watching it. Like I'm sitting here, I felt like Pink watching the fucking TV screen. I'm sitting here like
Oh, God, yeah.
apathetic, and I'm like, are you fucking? How the hell do you miss every fucking point of that story when it's directly in front of your fucking face? Oh yeah,
It doesn't hide it. The wall is not a subtle
No.
story or a subtle film or a subtle album.
yeah, not at all.
You know, that's one of the things that made it what it is, because it got right down to like the raw emotion of being like an angry young person.
Yeah. It got down to like the thing I always got from it is like this is what happens when the world is so chaotic and so painful and ahead of you that like in front of you, around you, that internally you shut yourself off because the only way to not feel pain is to not feel at all. How the
Yeah.
fuck do you miss that fucking point?
Yeah, that's the absolute point. That's what the wall is. But what's the problem? The problem is you do feel it. It's like when you use a painkiller, your body still is producing the pain stimulus, but it's not feeling it, but still there. It's doing all the other stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since you brought up the Channel Awesome shit, yes, he was once part of that Channel Awesome group. And
Yeah, for about like 3 years. I
Yeah,
think
for
that was
3 years. And I said this on your stream once, and I'll say it again. You should have known the minute it was like, oh, they're all from the Midwest. Like, no, my crazy ass is not going to fit in this group.
It didn't. The funny thing is that the person that I got along with the most famously was Linkara, who is the biggest goody two shoe of the bunch.
Yeah.
He is the nicest dude. He knew straight up what I was all about from the word go, and we never had a problem, and we did a couple of things together, and it was never an issue.
If you've ever watched Good Omens, basically they're Jack and Linkar are the two main characters.
Okay, I can get behind that reference.
Yeah. I really wanted to play that up when I was on the site. I was like, no, if you ever need like a guy to be like your foil, like you have like a kind of anti-hero like hanging around that tells Linkara shit, and it's just kind of a dick, and it's kind of just to like, you know, be a foil against like Linkara, he's the hero, dun 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 dun. You know, I'd totally be willing to do that because I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have great chemistry, anyways. Like he's been on your stream a couple of times now, right? And
yeah. We've had him on several times.
Yeah, every time he's been on, it's been like you two. The way you two banter, I'm like, there's no fucking way that guy's a Christian and that guy's a Satanist, and they're having this much of a civil discussion.
Well, like we usually, here's the funny thing is that we agree on a lot of basic facts and the basic assumptions. You know, at the end of the day, it's a better idea to be a good person than to be a shitheel.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like that's better for you for a multitude of reasons, all of which, some of which are just personal.
So,
the other thing, go on.
So curious, like at what point, like in your life, did you like figure out that you were a Satanist? Like, was it a transformation? Like when you were younger? Like, at what point did you realize, like I believe in this? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, was there just like a dawn, or like did you just always believe that from like the time you can remember?
Well, the moment I fully like kind of committed to it, for me, it was a matter of I had always kind of believed it, but the moment like I kind of admitted it to myself was much more recent. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
okay.
I was in my like late 30s, and I started really getting into the band Ghost.
Okay. Okay. I know
And
that. Okay.
yeah,
Ghost is your is the gateway drug into Satanism, folks. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Ghost
yeah,
is dope.
great, amazing band.
Okay.
So I was playing around with the idea of creating a character. Like I'd already started the show, and I played around with this idea of creating this character called Satanist Joe, who was going to be Count Jackula's other roommate.
Okay.
And his whole idea is that I don't know why, but he talked, when I wrote for him, he talked like Strong Bad.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it already.
Yeah, like, and he was just that guy. Is someone outside that window? Is that you, Lizzie? Hi, Lizzie. What's up? Oh, Han? I think Josh and Lizzie are at the door. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So, yeah, I live in a small apartment. So, I was writing this guy, and I was writing these parts for him, but I couldn't find a way to like fit him in. And I realized that what I kind of had on my hands was this voice that was the mature version of my angry 20-year-old self. That I was kind of trying to distance myself from, because, you're in your 30s and it's time to be mature and responsible and, get a job and wear a tie, or at least like, a suit jacket or something. And I had reached a point in my life where that had all fallen apart. Like that just completely fell apart. Like, and to the point where I like actually kind of regretted chasing the rat race.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep,
I did not get very far. It was awful. And it was getting to the point where I was getting offered jobs that were like lower than minimum wage.
Good God.
And and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And it wasn't like, hey dude, why don't you be my bartender for like $5 an hour in tips? Like that I probably would have done.
Oh, especially out there
but then
in
again,
San Fran, bro. You can't just
Fran,
take nothing. I mean,
exactly.
you gotta make a killing out there. That ain't no cheap area to live.
Oh no, yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
You gotta be able to maintain
Exactly.
something dope.
The job has got to fulfill you, or you got to get paid enough. And like I was getting like these terrible offers from places like Rotten Tomatoes, fucking LucasArts.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm like, what? You're that's below minimum wage. You can't fucking offer me that. And they're like, well, actually we can because of this thing. And I'm like, what the shit? And I'm like, okay, like I didn't say that in the interview, but I'm like in the back of my head, I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Thinking it really
offers
loudly.
did not get better. Yeah, thinking it very loudly. And I couldn't believe it. And I was just sitting there going, well, what am I gonna do? And I decided that, well, look, I would rather hate life because I'm not making enough money than because I'm doing bullshit all the time.
Yeah, I mean, to love your job and not necessarily get paid as much, like, is like something really important, Like, like loving what you do carries a long way.
Yeah, especially if you have any like really real creative drives, because that has to get satisfied one way or the other. And I was pulling 12-hour shifts regularly.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was bad. It was really bad. pulled a couple of 24 hours actually.
Oh yeah.
I know, right?
Oh yeah.
That's like military shit.
Yeah, that's that shit, man. Like, and when you do it for so long, you get a tired that you can't sleep off, and it just wears you out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and like you find yourself going like, I worked all that overtime, and for some reason, it's just not worth it.
It's like, yay, look at that fucking check. That's amazing. Well, I'm not going to go out and spend any of it. Like,
yeah, I know, right?
Or the reverse of that. Look at all that money. Oh, wait, and there's the taxes, and oh, wait, that's it? Well, fuck me.
Fuck me. Yeah, exactly. So I started the show because it was one of those, well, what else the fuck am I going to do? You know, I was a frustrated artist. I was a frustrated office worker, and I needed something else to do. So I've been doing the show for a while, but I was trying to be like, I don't know how to put it. I was trying to be a normal person. Now, we can discuss whether or not I was failing from the outset, but I was actually trying.
Oh, there's no discussion. No, you're failing from the outset. You're trying to be normal.
Bad. It was, yeah. But it was, the idea was, okay, I'm going to try to, be like a more watered down, palatable version of myself. And that was starting to wear thin because even as I was doing that, all I was getting was pushback.
Yeah,
I was getting a huge amount of pushback.
Yeah, just because of who you are. Like, I always felt...
just because of who I was and just because of my subject matter.
Right.
Like, I don't know how to say it other than back in the early days of YouTube, reviewing horror movies was not popular at all.
No.
It was really not popular. Like,
it's really niche, I would say,
It was super, it's still niche, but it was real niche then.
Right.
Like, this was the early days before you can make money off niche,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This was basically like, you have to review, like, the big movies or you ain't making any fucking money. Now, granted, it hasn't really changed that much, but now nobody's making money, but...
yeah. So now everyone's broke, you know?
Everyone's
luckily,
broke.
Yeah, but luckily we don't have to, like, rely on YouTube and the generosity of Google as much.
Right.
That's the whole way that works. So basically, I had this character and I realized, this is the guy that allows me to say all the shit that I want to say, but will upset people. But if I say it in a stupid accent, maybe they'll laugh instead.
Yeah. The delivery will ease what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And so as I started doing that, I started realizing more and more that while there were a lot of things that I didn't mean, there were actually quite a few that I did.
Right.
Obviously, like, for one, obviously when I say, like, I'm jerking off to Slayer videos, that's a bit of an exaggeration.
I mean, you can be honest here if it's not an exaggeration. This is an open forum. It's okay.
I mean, who hasn't jerked off to a Slayer video? I mean, honestly.
I know. All the, like, actually, my favorite part of the Slayer videos are always, like, the crowd shots. Because you always see those dudes that have carved Slayer in their forehead and are bleeding. And they're like, yeah, Slayer. And you're just like, the thing that I always loved about those guys is I am like, I would call you stupid, but the problem is I'm so impressed by your level of love and dedication for this goddamn band. Like, I thought I loved Slayer. I was wrong. You do.
That guy loves Slayer.
That guy loves Slayer. He has taken an X-Acto blade and carved Slayer into his fucking forehead.
John and I have said this many times. There is no kind of Slayer fan. You either are or you're not. There is no middle ground for Slayer fans.
Oh, God, no.
Specifically, I stole from Rob Zombie, which was basically like, there's two types of Slayer fans. There's either like, they're all right, or fucking Slayer.
Yeah. It's kind of like ICP.
Yes.
Oh, man.
ICP is the same thing.
I haven't talked about ICP in a long time, man.
Oh man, they're still around, man. They're like Guar. They're still around.
Man, the days.
You cannot kill that which will not
no
die.
Shit, right?
Dude, oh man, that was another thing that kind of like separated me from a lot of people on the internet, because it was really trendy to like kind of bust on ICP back in the day. And people were like, well, how do you feel about ICP? And I'm like, look, I don't particularly like their music, and I think the Miracle song is kind of bad and stupid, but I can't hate them. They are exactly the kind of band that I would have loved had I have been 14.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When they had come out, so I'm not gonna like talk shit about them, because I understand their fan base very well.
Yeah, like the reason why their fan base is so dedicated, and it's the same reason why a lot of people are turning into metalheads. It's the one group that will not turn you away. They'll be like,
yeah, well,
come
or
in.
if it does, you're just an absolute irredeemable piece of shit.
It's like if Mr. Rogers calls you an asshole. It's kind of like, what did you do wrong?
No shit.
Exactly. Like I still remember like the one time I was like, oh man, ICP fans, that was uncool. Where they like tried to like almost kill Tia Tequila.
True.
And then she turned out that she was like, and then it turned out she was like a Nazi, and I was like, oh god, maybe they just knew something we didn't.
They were a step ahead of the game, and the rest of us were just.
They were ahead of the fucking curve. We were bringing up the rear. They knew, man.
How the fuck does like a fucking Thai girl filled with more plastic than Barbie turn into a goddamn Nazi? It
helps to be stupid.
Okay,
that's part one.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's part one.
I mean, she's a complete freaking airhead. So.
Oh god, yeah.
She's also a flat earther, so.
Yeah, go figure.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but if she was a flat chester, she wouldn't have gotten as far as she did.
Oh shit!
That was good. That was good.
That was great.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Ultimate.
That just instantly stopped me from raging about flat Earth. So I condemn you right there. Yeah. That was beautiful.
That was amazing.
But no, like because when I found you, you weren't doing the satanic shit yet. But
I was not. No.
But when you started doing the live streams is like when that came out, and the cool thing I love about your live streams is there's always like with every stream there's always a sense like something's gonna happen we haven't really seen. There's gonna be some type of discussion we've never went over, or even if we have went over it, maybe see a different side of it. And it's so like it's wild to me because when I found it, I was like I was a firebrand atheist. Like how the fuck do you believe in anything? Fucking paranormal bullshit, blah blah blah. And now like I have the Satanic Bible right here in front of me. I've been reading it, and I'm like, I can kind of see the reason why people, like believe in spirits and shit like that. I can kind of see the reason why they're doing it. Now, granted, I don't, but I'm not gonna shit on you for having an altar in your house to pray to Satan because
which yes I do.
He does. He also has do you still have your King Peacock altar? Is it still part of it or?
Oh yeah. I have the three major figures that I pray to like on a regular basis. One being King Peacock, the other being Baphomet, who is the classic like goat-headed, Satan, if you will, and the other is Lilith, because I figured that if I was going to be a heretic, I was going to go all the way and put a goddess on, because I always felt that one of the biggest problems of shall we say Western civilization is that it tries to completely erase woman as anything other than base and disgusting. Like, so a woman can't be a god,
right?
No other, even some of the more sexist like cultures on the planet didn't go that far.
Right.
Like if you told the Chinese or the Japanese that they're goddesses, well, they don't count anymore, you'd be done. You would just be done. That'd actually be worse than what mainland China did, and just be like, oh, well, there's just no religion anymore.
Yeah, well, China's making a lot of fucking mistakes, if you ask me, lately.
There's a can of worms right there. But actually, you talking about your altar kind of leads me into my huge question for you for the night, which sure. is, I was raised half agnostic, half Jewish. Mm-hmm. So as far as Satanism goes, I know absolutely nothing. So if you could break it down for me like I'm a fucking idiot, because as far as Satanism is concerned, I kind of am an idiot. So give me the Cliff Notes version, if you will.
Okay, so first of all, the most important thing to remember is that I don't think I've ever met another Satanist that didn't come from some sort of conservative Christian background.
Okay. It's kind of like atheists. Atheists don't just spring out of the ground atheists. Usually they get away from their doctrine, and then that's when they become an atheist. It's kind of the same thing with
exactly.
Satanists.
Yeah, normally there's so much pressure from one direction that it becomes too much, so they go their own
Fuck
route.
One Direction.
I was about to say, they have a religion
I
now?
don't believe
Shit.
that.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't believe, unlike Christianity, I don't believe that Judaism has an ultimate evil that's fucking with you all the time.
Right.
Like, does it? I don't think it
No.
does, but feel free to correct me. Okay, yeah, exactly. Well, Christianity does.
Well,
Christianity-
Judaism doesn't really have like they have like tempters, but they don't really like blame every fucking problem.
Well,
in the
Yeah,
world
there
on
is no
Satan.
quote unquote devil figure. There is no hell in Judaism. So no, there is no quote unquote all around evil source, if you want to put a layman term on it.
Right. Like, there may be divine schmucks and putzes, but like, that's
Oh,
about it.
oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. The Jew in me just smiled so much at that statement. Thank you.
Yeah, but in Christianity, the devil is the embodiment of everything that Christianity doesn't want you
Right.
to do. You know, whether it's good or not, whether it's bad or not, it's just everything which is taboo. And when you start adding up all of the things that are taboo, you come to this inescapable conclusion, which is that conservative Christianity is essentially anti-life.
Yeah. It's kind of funny reading the Satanic Bible. I was expecting it to be, because again, I grew up in the South, you know, fucking evangelical Christian, so that's my
You grew up with the people that talk to
And-
snakes.
And no, we didn't handle snakes. Now we spoke in tongues, but that's not the point.
It is slightly different. You
It
know?
is- It is slightly different. Like, we didn't try to kill ourselves with strychnine and venom. We tried to kill ourselves with diabetes.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. But reading the Satanic Bible, you know, just pouring through the pages, I'm like, holy shit! Like, if I was ever to get into a religion, this would be it. Because it's like, there is no good and evil personal intentions. Like, I'm not gonna go so far to say there's no such thing as evil, and I think even Jack would agree with me on that. Like,
Yeah. I wouldn't go that far either.
yeah. But like, when it comes to like personal stuff, like, you know, drinking, getting high, having sex with multiple partners, having sex with same-sex partners, it's not bad. And even the indulgence of it is not bad, so long as you are protecting yourself and treating yourself right. Then fuck whatever, you know, some pope in fucking Rome thinks it should be done. You should be able to be in charge of your own life.
Yeah,
But-
you should be. You're the ultimate. Like, you're supposed to be the pope of your own
But
body.
the Pope speaks to God, guys. He's the
Yeah.
he's the closest thing to it. Come on, he's got to be
I
right.
know, well, but so do I. I speak to God all the time.
Exactly.
Love it.
You know, like I mean, but I mean, that motherfucker never spoke
Oh.
back. So, you know, I stopped calling him.
He just left you on voicemail all the time. And you're like, you know what? Fuck
Yeah,
this.
he
I'm gonna
just
call
always
the
go
other
right
guy
to
now.
voicemail. Yeah, how you doing? Like, Bert, yo, Satan. Suck it, you know?
I have the mental image of you doing that in my head, and on the other end is Satan from South Park picking up the phone. That's what I'm seeing right now.
Hey. Yeah.
Like cuddling Saddam
So-
while he's on the phone with you.
Yeah.
Sorry if you hear
What's up?
Saddam. Sorry if you hear Saddam in the background. He's eating my ass right now.
Right now.
He's eating.
Oh man. But yeah.
But-
So go on.
I was gonna say, but you know, and the funny thing is like, you came to this realization at a much later time than some people. Some people become Satanist like in their teens and 20s and shit like that. You came in, you embraced it in your 30s,
Yeah.
and like weird shit like happened to you. Like you have a video which I suggest anyone listening to this, please go look up. Count Jackula meets Asmodee.
Asmodeus.
Oh
yeah.
my fucking god! If you can like tell that story to these guys so they can hear it, it is mind blowing.
Okay. So
Is this gonna make me not
this
sleep
is
at
one
night?
of those. I don't know.
Oh my god, this is
I'm ready.
This is,
I'm ready. I'm
This
down.
this is, dude. I'm that guy that can't watch a horror film just because I can't sleep with the lights off.
Oh,
No, I'm
jeez.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm
Okay.
Yeah,
exaggerating.
we brought you that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, should I do it chronologically? All right, I'll do it. I'll do it the best I
Okay.
can. Which is that? All right. So long before we had, I declared myself a Satanist, I would have these reoccurring experiences while just high out of my mind. You know those. I don't know if you've ever had like any sort of visions while on drugs. Like,
Well,
particularly
Billy?
Let's turn to our resident expert here, Billy.
No, I'm there. Keep going. I'm there. I'm with you, man.
Okay. Well, I used to have this like regular occurrence where there was a feeling that I was like this little impy lizardy demon thing, purple and pink, and I was in like a kind of Escher of other demons, of other things just like me, and we were just constantly fucking. And that was that was the first place I'd ever experienced that felt, this is gonna sound really weird, but it felt like home. It felt like, okay, this is home. This is where, if I could define what home does, this is it. You know, it's like the oh, hello, suck cock, like it's like that's just how you say hello.
I like it.
And yeah, now bear in mind, I am like well out of my gourd. I'm like on a heroic dose of LSD while I have these experiences, but it's one that I would have it pretty regularly. So I was like, okay, so it's either this specific batch of LSD or this is just a thing that's just going to keep coming up. And after we went through that batch, it kept happening. So I was like, okay, so this is a thing in my head. Got it. There were a couple other experiences that I have that don't directly relate, but it all added up to a like, okay, there's something very strange going on in the mind, because whether or not a religious experience is real, it's an experience that exists.
Yeah, you can't deny, like, and I'll say this as an atheist, the whole atheist, is there God, isn't there God conversation stops at experience, because the atheist can't prove it, and neither can the theist. So we just kind of have to go
the same problem, which is we can't actually prove it. But one of the things that I started to contemplate was, well, maybe it's as real as it needs to be. Like, is there actually a physical heaven that you could like walk into if you created like a science ray, teleportation ray or something? Probably not. But does there really need to be? Does it really need to be? Because whatever that thing is, whether it's a quirk of genetics or whatever, the experience itself is a thing, and it does drive and influence human civilization. So we have to at least treat it as that real.
Okay.
Whether or not the individual deities are real or not, we have to consider that the experience is an experience that someone has, and that experience often affects the course of human events.
Right. And, like when you were telling this story, I was just kind of like, I'm again an atheist now and I was just kind of like, okay, Jack is dealing with some mental shit, and even you come to that conclusion, like, okay, this is probably just some deep seated shit I need to take care of.
Yeah, exactly. So I put it in a mental drawer called weird shit that I've experienced and kind of forgot about it. Well, when I came out as a Satanist and I started talking to Yogi, one of the things we bonded over was our love of Alan Moore. Because Alan Moore had a lot of really, really, really interesting, really great things to say about, magic, quote unquote. And his opinion that when we're talking about magic, what we're really talking about is we're talking about the arts.
Right. And for those that don't know who the fuck Alan Moore is, Alan Moore has probably written your favorite comic book. You just don't know.
I must say, I know I recognize the name.
He's
V for Vendetta.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Watchmen.
shit.
Watchmen,
Okay,
V for Vendetta. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did the first run of Hellblazer, right? With Constantine.
He created Constantine.
Right, he created Constantine because apparently he ran into him in a bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He ran to this guy in a bar and he was like, what if that god really was who he said he was and had faced the devil? I must write about him, you know? like it was one of those things.
And then he met him later in life too.
So
Yeah.
So we started with you meeting Asmodeus, right? Did I say that right? I probably butchered that one. Okay,
Yes.
no, I said it right. So did you actually, like, what happened there? Like, well, did you actually meet him? Like, did you just, was it just an experience, or like what happened there?
Here's what happened. So I brought up Alan Moore because he actually figures into the story.
Oh, okay.
Yogi's like, hey, dude, you know, like, did you know that like there's a bunch of like Alan Moore videos on YouTube? And I was like, oh, sweet, that's awesome. And I was very familiar with like his spoken word albums because he has a bunch of spoken word albums. They're all really good. So I was like, oh, cool. I can just listen to Alan Moore for like hours. So I did. And someone was asking him about his magical experiences because Alan Moore, in his own words, when I hit 40, I decided that instead of doing something normal, like have a midlife crisis, I would run around and tell everyone that I had become a magus.
You know, like you do.
Like you do. Yeah.
When you're Alan Moore, you do that.
Yeah. So he started holding like rituals at his house in Northampton. And in one of the rituals, like they're supposed to be summoning a demon. And he's putting everything into it. He's like, you know, as theatrical as possible. Nothing happens.
Right.
You know, and so probably the best thing that could be said is that he and his friends got loaded. And then a demon didn't literally manifest, but he gets up into his room and he's like kind of pouting because he's like, God damn it, I really thought something was going to happen, right? You know, like a kid who throws his first seance and then like bullshit happens. Like, yeah, it fucking sucks.
I didn't speak to any fucking evil spirits. What the fuck?
What the fuck? Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden he has this feeling that there's something in the room with him and that the room is shaking. And he's basically does the thing that you always do in like the possession house movies where like you start calling out and stuff. And he has this like encounter with a being that calls itself Asmodai, which is the root for the name Asmodeus. Asmodeus being the Latinized version of Asmodai.
Okay.
And when he like finishes with it, a bunch of his friends start talking about like, what was that thing that was moving through the goddamn house? What was this? What was that? Like they had like a shared hallucination of this thing appearing.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. So
I've had some insane stuff, but nothing like that. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I know how to react with that one.
Well, it's very weird. There is of course the psychological explanation, which is that you have to remember that most people have like we have a lot of mirror neurons, and so we copy everything that we experience in our brains, and this includes people. So there is a version of everyone you've ever known that exists inside your own head.
Right, which is why,
you know, so when people say like, when they say like, well, no one's really gone if we remember them, they're actually kind of right.
it's kind of like the same phenomenon when you have a dream and the dream is populated with faces you've seen before.
Yeah. But usually, and here's the weird thing, you ever find it funny that you can always tell when it just looks like that person and it isn't?
Yeah.
As opposed to when you have a dream and you feel like, no, that's something that guy would actually do.
I could think that, like, basically you're like, this person should act this way, and lo and behold, they do.
Yeah.
Kinda, is that what you're going at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas if they do something in the dream and you're like, that wasn't him at all. Like, why would Alistair like eat a dog? The guy's a pacifist vegetarian. That makes no sense. That's obviously like dream fuckery. you know. But then there are the times when they like come up and they do something that's totally in character for them, and you feel like, oh, it's them. And in the time that this really happens to people, where people really fucking experience this, is when people die.
I had multiple dreams when my grandfather died where I saw him doing like the same old stuff that he used to do, and like I was experiencing it again, and he was kind of giving me advice. Basically the way I justified it is my brain was kind of helping me deal with the fact that my grandfather died, and my brain was also helping me work through shit. So
Yeah.
it was yes, that's the way my grandfather acted, but he didn't say the same shit my grandpa would have said. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but there was there's like this sort of sense that it's like that is him, like he would have done that, even though it seems weird. Yeah. I actually think that's what the actual origin of the phenomenon of ghosts. That, you know, I don't want to say ghosts are definitively not real or real, but the one way in which we know that they are real is in people's minds.
Again, going back to that experience thing we were talking about.
See, when it comes to ghosts, I don't necessarily I don't believe in them, but you know what? I don't want to damn well find a reason to start believing in them. So, if
that can go
if I
either
see
way,
like
though.
a Ouija board or something, or like anything that's like related to it, I leave, because as well as that could be super innocent, I'm not tempted, because if it is real, oh man, I'm gonna lose my shit.
The funny thing is whenever I would encounter something like strange of that nature, I don't know how to explain it. Like at some point, it started happening in my teens. I was a teenage sorcerer, and so that meant that I would try to conjure the spirits and things like that.
Oh, you did like the crazy fire stuff, and he stood in the center of it and did some crazy shit.
Well, I tried to.
Yeah, okay.
What it probably was, it was what it really was me and a couple of black candles and a magic marker. You know,
everyone's got to start somewhere, right?
Gotta start somewhere.
It's like the dude in SLC Punk. He's like, I am going to summon the devil.
Summon the devil.
Oh man!
I'm gonna prove that Satan doesn't exist by summoning him.
Oh damn, my Sharpie's too dry. You know, what am I gonna do?
I love it.
Yeah. So but whenever I was in that mindset and I was like kind of primed to believe that there were supernatural things happening, whenever it felt like it was another presence, I don't know why, but my reaction was to get annoyed.
Why?
It wasn't to be scared. It was to get annoyed. Oh, because they were, my opinion was that, like, look, guys, I'm trying to do something real here and you're fucking with me.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
You're fucking with me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get an actual answer and you're wandering around, like, you know, turning the lights on and off and making beep beep noises at me. Like, are you fucking serious?
To me, that's a sign of passion, though. Like when you get annoyed by shit like that, it's because you're really trying, and then the other people that think it's a joke like ruin it for you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And people are like, "Well, why would the spirits make fun of you?" And I'm like, "Well, why wouldn't they?"
Yeah, what the fuck else do they have to do?
I'm sitting down there in a circle of fucking candles in my fucking garage with a fucking Sharpie trying to summon the devil. Like, what about that is not fucking hilarious? Like, if I was a spirit watching that, I'd be like, this is the best, guys.
Like, you guys see this kid over here? We've got to fuck with him. Like, I mean, come on.
Oh, we gotta fuck with that one. Yeah. But if you're like, all right, fucking stop this shit. Like, that's like, I was like, no. You kind of got to treat this a little bit like when like a little puppy is acting up. You know, You just got to be like, all right, knock that shit off. You gonna knock it off now? All right, there we go. Oh, fine then. You know, like. Here, have a cookie. Have a treat. It's okay. I'm not that mad. You know?
Stop pissing in the summoning circle, you shit. Like,
shit. Yeah, I know. Oh, I can't stay mad at you, puppy. You know? Yeah. And that was just kind of always my attitude. So whenever I would watch other people, like, and I lived in Maryland, and there are a lot of like Wiccans and neo-pagans in the Maryland area, or at least there were when I was a teenager.
Wait. I've got to pause you there. What part of Maryland?
the Bowie, Maryland area.
Okay, so not
like-
Southern Maryland. You're not a SMIB if you remember the term.
No. I was a lot closer to DC.
Okay. Wow, that's weird. So was I.
Which
Really?
explains
Northern Virginia.
Okay,
so
so if I say Anacostia,
I know
you what
exactly
that
where you're
is.
talking about. Don't go into Anacostia unless you've got some form of weapon.
Yeah.
Don't get off the wrong side of the
It's the
metro.
most dangerous. Exactly, it's the most dangerous neighborhood in the fucking DC area. Oh God, the thing that I thought was real funny is I thought it'd be badass to walk around, and obviously I lived. But
If this story involves Anacostia, there was a question of that at some point.
yeah,
though.
there was a non-zero chance I wasn't going to make it out. But that's when I kind of realized that you just need to walk around like you're not a target.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Confidence.
I've
Confidence,
been in some pretty shitty towns, and the best way to not get your shit stolen is to act like you belong there, asshole.
Yeah.
like New Orleans. Well, not even New Orleans. New Orleans isn't really that bad compared to like fucking.
Well, that depends on what part of New Orleans we're talking about.
Right. Like if you're going over to the wards, you need to shed that white skin real quick.
Yeah.
Don't be so weird and white in the wards.
Yeah. If you've how to put it, you gotta at least have that like 1/80th black if you're gonna walk into the Treme.
Yeah.
And the good thing is if you're a black guy's friend, like that's good enough.
That's your ticket.
That's your ticket. Yeah.
Or if you did what I did last time I was in New Orleans, you can kind of get a pass. The last time I was in New Orleans, I told the story on Jack's show. I'll tell it here. There was this like old black lady that was like singing to doorways and like waving an elephant ear leaf at them.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. You told me about this.
Yeah. So I, because I've been watching Jack this often, I was like, she might actually be a voodoo priest.
Yeah. That's voodoo. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I could do one of two things. I could be weird and white and just ignore her, or I could probably promise that me and my family will not get harassed during our time in New Orleans. I'm going to go with option B here. So I go to like, if you ever been in the Jackson Square, because this is where it kind of happened.
I know where that is.
That like that. Yeah. Okay. So how they have like a bunch of like fortune tellers, artists.
Yeah.
Bullshit
Okay.
artists.
Oh yeah. Street
they also have,
performers
like,
and all that, and you got all that attraction going on around there.
They had a beer cart there, and they were serving Sam Adams. I think it was Boston Lager. So
The tradition.
and it was like from the tap. Yeah, traditional, and it's from the tap. So like literally, ice cold beer in a plastic cup. So I get two of them. I get one for me and one for her, and I walk them over, and I take a sip from her cup, and then I hand it to her, and I say, you look like you need a beer, so here you go. She gladly accepted it. She actually like waved the elephant ear leaf at me.
I can just see it.
No joke. No joke. No.
Got the blessing of
Exactly.
Loa. Yeah.
No joke, Billy. You laugh. Whether it's real or not, I don't really fucking care because the entire time we were there, we did not get fucked with.
Yeah, you see what happened,
I just
John.
feel like imagining it in my head,
You see what happened, John, is you did that, and then she turned around and started taking apart the doll, like, all right, don't need to fuck with this little white fuck today.
Yeah. Like, all right, that's good.
Listen. There's a reason why I say I'm white, but I'm not that white, because I recognize symbols.
No, she was probably like, okay, dwarves are off the table today.
Fuck you! Not everyone can be a giant freak like you
Dwarves
shit.
and hobbitses.
Yeah. But yeah, like it kind of like dragging this back into Asmodee. I will never fully admit that yes, magic is real, but I do believe that certain things you can do will prevent bad things from happening to you.
Yeah.
Because New Orleans is a little bit of a scary town if you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yes, it
so the
can
best
be.
way to Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so
At the very least, everyone that takes their cues from the crazy voodoo lady is not gonna fuck with you.
exactly.
Like
That's
at the very least.
it may not be magic, but it's definitely protection.
Yeah. Because to me, magic is essentially it's invisible. We don't
Yeah.
see it, but we know that there are things that are invisible that are real to us that we
Right.
don't question at all. You know,
you drop an
like-
apple, it hits the ground, aka gravity.
No, not even. I'm not even talking about like physical
Okay.
phenomena. I'm talking about things which are completely ephemeral. Love,
Okay.
Yeah, love's a good one.
sexual attraction. These are all ephemeral things. They're not. We can only see their effects. We can't see the thing in and of itself. Thoughts. That's another one. Can't see a thought.
And you know that feeling when someone's right behind you, you can't explain the reason why you know it, but you know it. Shit
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. You're picking up on something. You're picking up on some subtlety that's not something that's easily measured. You know, that you can't say is real the way your body is real, or the air is real, or gravity is real.
Right.
You know, but it seems to be driving you. It seems to be it interacts with you in a way that changes your behavior. So what is it? And we don't have a good answer.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, no.
I don't
mean-
know. I've
yeah,
never
like-
really thought about it on that level before.
Let me
So-
put it this way. I don't expect anyone to ever come up with an answer because
Yeah.
all of the great philosophers have failed. You know,
Exactly.
So-
Yeah, that stuff always like, how do I put it? Like a weakness of mine, because I like philosophy class. I hated it. I could not finish that class faster because it's just.
I
like,
love philosophy.
Yeah,
I love philosophy all of my philosophy professors. I hated the class.
Yeah.
I hated the class because I hated the other students.
Now, did
Yeah,
you
like-
did you hate
No.
the other students, or did you hate the really dumbass questions they were asking?
yeah, and I think that plays
It's
into it.
really
for
the
me.
dumbass
Okay,
questions.
that's fair.
It was really the dumbass questions.
Yeah, because listening
Like,
to the professor
every
really never
philosophy
got under my
class-
skin, but it was when people just made this ridiculous cyclical, like, dumbest like not an argument, but like another theory or whatever. It's just like, shut up. Like, God.
Yeah.
Like, geez, just let him talk.
Yeah, and they're never talking as if they're exploring a thought. They're always talking as if they have the answer.
Exactly.
Yes, that's
Like,
exactly what
Put
it
down
is.
your White Claw. You don't have the answer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always the dumbest guy who's the most certain.
Yeah, it's always like, because when I was in my philosophy class, it was always this one guy who, instead of trying to learn, was trying to preach, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like, well, I'm a Christian, and he would always start his fucking questions or statements with
Man,
that.
those
and
were
I
the
was just
worst.
like, I was like,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
nobody gives a fuck. We're in philosophy. Like,
Yeah.
like they brought up Pascal's wager, and he started going on and on and on about how he's a Christian. So I literally got up in my class to where, like, you know how they usually teach Pascal's wager where they put up the squares.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know what you're
I went up to it, and I started drawing extra squares. And I said, okay, this one is Islam. This one is Hinduism. This one is Judaism. This one is, and I basically just drew like a large one. And I said, you see how this resembles more of a roulette table than just a 4 square? Yeah, you're putting your bet on one number. Hope it comes up, buddy.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't,
Yeah.
you're going to hell or some form of hell.
Yeah,
Like-
that Pascal's wager only really works if your experience of the world is extremely limited.
Yeah, if there's only one god that anyone worships at any given time, Pascal's wager works. But otherwise, it doesn't.
I was say,
Yeah, otherwise
to
it
that
doesn't,
I have to
and
say,
most-
have you been to Tennessee?
Oh jeez.
Don't you be talking shit about my home state, boy. I swear to God, I'll come up there. I'll whoop your ass. You want to keep talking that shit, boy?
All right, John, take a sip of your drink and wash that out because I know that felt disgusting coming out of your mouth.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Yeah. So the so back on the Asmodeus thing, listening to this Alan Moore interview where he's talking about his experience with Asmodeus, and he begins to describe what he sees. And he describes seeing all of these lizard-like shapes in a daisy chain together, and this is what makes up Asmodeus's body until you pull back and you see that he is a giant spider looking at you from 4 dimensions. And I hear this and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I know exactly what he's talking about. I know exactly what he's talking about. He's like, yeah, I did a painting of it. And I'm like, no. And I found it. I looked at it and I was like, yep, that's it. That's fucking it. Wait, the fuck? And then all of a sudden, you hear that voice that you're pretty sure is coming from your own head, but for somehow it's speaking just a little louder than a normal thought.
Or maybe it has like a different inflection than what your normal conscious sounds like.
Yeah, or has a different voice that's not quite yours. And it just says like hello. And I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, that's I am Asmodai, I am, he of like, it just goes on. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you can't do anything. I'm the son of Baphomet. And he's like, fuck.
Yeah, because Asmodeus doesn't like to be proven wrong.
He doesn't like to be proven wrong. And it's one of those things where if you are, Baphomet is a immense contradiction.
In what way?
It is, whew, oh man, that's a talk in and of itself. Baphomet is a gigantic contradiction because he is made up of separate parts that should not come together and yet do. For example, like on his one arm pointing to the heavens is the word coagule, and on the one pointing towards the earth it says salve. These are the 2 great philosophical mental techniques. The salve is breaking things down and examining them part by part, seeing how that all works. And coagule is taking that information and creating a new whole out of it. Salve is very much like what people are talking about when they say postmodern deconstructionism. In fact, that is the essence of it.
Okay.
The essence of postmodern deconstructionism is to take any one thing apart and look at its individual pieces to be able to understand those. The problem is that often people stop there.
Right.
And it's one of those, whoa, wait a minute. You just pulled apart a belief system and didn't put anything in its place. You didn't put it back together. And they're like, well, why should you? And I'm like, because a belief system's like a car. If you put it apart, you can't use it if you don't put it back together. It's like,
right.
Oh, but it's not real. And I'm like, well, neither is your job, but you still got to go to it. Like
your job's as real as you make it. Like,
yeah. It's as real as you make it. You probably want to put that mental structure back together because you're going to look for that structure somewhere. You're going to look for it somewhere. And the next person who comes along, you better hope has your best interest at heart. But I'm going to tell you, chances aren't good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Wow. Talk about some heavy stuff there. If you want the conclusion of that story, make sure to tune in for the next episode. I'm, of course, John the Joker, and my co-hosts for the evening are Anarchy Arena and The Metal Barrett. You can find them both on Twitter. And please, make sure to check out Count Jackula on YouTube. And you can follow him on Twitter at Count_Jackula. Now, make sure you tune in for the next diabolic episode.